So we're going to start off here by defining demand. And we're going to talk about this in relation to a product that we're probably all familiar with, and that's just gasoline. So what we're going to start off by showing us a demand schedule. And first of all, we need to understand what exactly that means. So a demand schedule is just a list of prices and the quantities of a product demanded at that price. And so here's what we're going to say. We're going to have a little list right here, and we're going to have a bunch of different prices of gas, like possible different gas prices. And what we want to understand is, okay, whenever the gas is that price, how much do people want to buy? That's really all we're saying. Now, there's some intuition here that I think you guys already might already know without realizing it, and we'll see that as we go. But first of all, let's say with a price of $3, we're going to assume that the total demand, say in our city for the year, is 10 million gallons of gas. Now, at $2.75, what do we think would happen to the amount of gas that's demanded within our city? So at a price of $2.75, we'll say that it goes to 20 million gallons of gas demanded. And then at $2.50, we see 30 million gallons of gas demanded. $2.25, we'll say it's 40 million demanded. $2, it's 50 million. $1.75, it's 60 million. $1.50, it's 70 million. So what you might notice here is a trend, and I think this is a trend that a lot of us can look at and be like, yeah, that makes sense. It's the idea that whenever the price of gas starts to go down, we see people buying more and more gas. And this is actually something referred to as the law of demand. And the law of demand just says as prices go down, the quantity demanded goes up. And as prices go up, the quantity demanded goes down. And I think we all understand that. Like if something gets cheaper, we want to buy more of it. The quantity that people want to purchase goes up. And as stuff gets more expensive, the quantity demanded goes down. The amount that people want to purchase goes down. I think that makes sense. We've seen that before. But just like with our production possibilities before, we're going to take this list of prices and quantities, and we're actually going to plot these points. And so if you plot those points out, you'll see it looks something like this. And just like with our production possibilities curve, we're going to connect those dots. Now, this is not a production possibilities curve. This is instead something we call our demand curve, or simply our demand. Our demand is just a line that shows us how much consumers are willing to purchase at any given price. So looking at this, what we can say is, like, if I was to ask you, hey, when the price is $2.25, how much gas do people want to buy? Well, as you notice, you can look at this little graph right there, and you can say, okay, at $2.25, I know that people want to buy 40 million gallons of gas. But the cool thing is the demand curve allows us to do that with any price. Like I could say, what about at a price of $2.62? Well, that line still tells us, hey, at $2.62, we see that people would want to buy about 25 million gallons of gas. The demand curve shows us at every single price, how much of the product do people want to buy. Now, what you might notice is that our demand curve is downward sloping. And that's because there's this inverse relationship between the price and the quantity. If you look up at the law of demand, it said as prices go down, quantity goes up. As prices go up, quantity goes down. Because there's this inverse relationship, we see that it's going to have a negative slope. It's going to be downward sloping because as that price goes down, people want to buy more of it and vice versa. Now, whenever we talk about demand, we have to be incredibly careful with the language we use. And here's what I mean. We're going to throw on these words. We're going to talk around demand and quantity demanded. And there is an incredibly big difference between the two. Like this is a difference that like many points on your test hinge upon. So pay attention. This point right here, a single point you guys see on our graph, what that point is telling us is that at $2, the quantity demanded is 50 million gallons. Now, if you heard carefully, what I said is the quantity demanded right there is 50 million gallons because this point represents quantity demanded because quantity demanded is simply a point, a single point that represents the amount that people want at a specific price. So quantity demanded is a specific point with a specific quantity at a specific price. It's just one of those single snapshots in time. Now, what we end up seeing is that before we have this entire line, and this entire line is called our demand because our demand is not a single point, it's all of those single points all together, and all those single points together make up an entire line. So demand is instead a line that shows the relationship between all prices and the quantity that people want at every single price. So quantity demanded is the single price at a specific point, And demand is the entire line that shows every price and every quantity at each price.